Now joining us is NYU professor Dr. Lewis-McCoy. He's the author of the book Inequality in the Promised Land: Race, Resources, and Suburban Schooling. He feels that pods might actually cause more problems than they actually solve. Dr. Lewis-McCoy, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
So you feel as though parents are forming these pods with their family's best interests in mind, but this could actually be widening the education gap. How so?
Well, parents are responding to a very uncertain moment, whether schools will be open, whether they'll be hybrid, whether they'll be online and safe. And so parents are choosing sometimes safety for their own children. But this is a prime example of what I call opportunity hoarding. When people create these pods, what they end up doing is creating these very niche educational settings that may be safe and secure, but they're really advantaging themselves relative to other people. And so as they create these pods, many families aren't able to access them. And what that means over time is that these kids and these families are going to go further and faster, while many families that are locked out of pods and locked out of schools are left behind.
But can you blame a family that says, listen, I've got 4 kids, a newborn, one just out of the NICU, other toddlers running around. I can't do it by myself. I need help. Can you blame them for trying to help their own situation? I mean, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, I absolutely don't want to blame anyone. Instead, what I would say is that this is a moment of crisis where we have to pull into community and figure out what are the needs that we're exactly trying to get met. Is it a safety need? Is it a childcare need? Is it an educational need? And if you do that, if you're setting up a pod and you decide to reach out to family and friends, you also have to look and say, well, who exactly is included in this? Because I think this is a moment where all of a sudden families can start to reach across divides that are often there. We live in a very segregated world. So one of the issues is that many of these pods are economically segregated, racially segregated, and linguistically segregated. This is a moment where I think if we reach across, we build a greater social safety net for each other. And that's exactly what I've seen people doing. And it takes a little bit of extra work. And I'm not saying give up everything you have. I'm saying, can you stretch a little and still get by? If you can do that, then you're probably in a much better position than many families across the country.
Yes.
Stretching a little and giving a little goes a long way right now.
Right. I understand that for sure. No doubt about it. But we also have to remember we're in COVID too, right? And so, you want to also make sure that you're familiar with families and their behaviors and you trust them and they're transparent. So there's also, the COVID adds another layer of, I really, really, really want to be protective and make sure that the person or the houses that my kids are going into, I know them. I don't want to send my kids into a stranger's house who I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, and I agree. I think one of the first priorities is safety. But as you can also recognize is that people can assume that the safety protocol they keep at home is occurring in families that they know. And most times it's not communicated. The truth of the matter is that we learn how to be safe and how to practice good, clear behaviors around health safety. And if you don't do that and you don't communicate, whether you're best friends with someone or not, you'll find yourself meeting up with a family that's decided in the last 3 months to abandon masks. And you talk to them every day, but you never realize that. So this is a place where, again, communication and community can come together to build a different set of practices.
Well, Dr. Lewis-McCoy, by all means, I don't have the answer, but maybe people should start thinking about schools themselves being the instrument of change and forming the pods. Maybe schools should say, we're going to put these pods together, and therefore it's not incumbent upon the parents to do it, but the school does it, and that may be a way to, as you say, not actually widen the gap and have people reach across lines that divide us.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I want folks to be working with their schools, so it's really about a partnership here. It's all too easy for us to say, hey, parents, it's your job to solve inequity now. Parents can't do it. They didn't create this system alone, but they can be part of the folks who take the extra step that go a little bit further to try to do something different. And it may actually teach many of our schools, which haven't necessarily served all of our kids equally, particularly low-income children, black and brown children. It'll teach them what good work and good education and good community look like.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Lewis-McCoy, thank you for this great insight. And we're hopeful that as we learn on the fly, that we do things in a more equitable way. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.